Good evening. So give you a little overview of what the might for tonight. So at 8:39, Lieutenant Western District went back to we observed some yes. So Lieutenant from back to 12 officers when he observed Mr. Gray, they got contact and took off running. They gave chase, the apprehended him in the area press area of Baltimore homes.
Mr. Gray gave up, got on the ground, and he was taken into custody. You saw in the video that's been on the cell phone, Mr. Gray is carried to the wagon, placed in there, and they decide to take him to Mountain Baker to do a toe tag, which is for the booking process. While they're leg ironed and then transported to central booking. But while en route to central booking, there was a request for another officer to come to assist to check on Mr. Gray. From there, Mr. Gray was looked at. There was another wagon at North Avenue. The wagon driver responded back up there to pick up the. Once they got to the Western District to drop off the second prisoner, is when they discovered Mr. Gray unconscious. A medic was called there, and Mr. Gray was taken to the hospital, where he his injuries just treated by the doctors. A week later, Gray was pronounced deceased. This investigation is going on, is forthgoing. We're working very hard to come to figure out what happened. There are a lot of unanswered questions. There's unanswered questions what happened during the arrest. There's unanswered questions what happened in the wagon. We have put together a task force, which consists of the Force Investigation Team, our Homicide Division, our Academy, and as well as our Crime Lab. We're putting the best of our best on this case so that we can get the right answers. We're working hard with the Medical Examiner's Office and the State's Attorney's Office. We're also conducting in briefings at 9 o'clock in the morning and out briefings in the afternoon so that everyone is on board and the same information is being shared. We've recently gone out to the Gilmore homes with flyers asking anyone with information with this case to come forward. We're looking for witnesses as well as any cell phone video, anyone who saw what took place that day. Any little piece of information will be very helpful for this case. We're also going back around looking at all the different cameras, the CCTV cameras surrounding the whole area from North Avenue to Baker Street down to Dolphin. We're looking at all those cameras to see if anything was captured on there. That's where we are right now with the case.
All right, before we go any further, I'll let my colleagues actually start. Do they have any questions about this particular incident? Councilman Costello.
Can you discuss the process that BPD went through when determining whether or not to have someone from the outside investigate this? I mean, was there a discussion of that? And
Oh, absolutely. We discussed having an independent board look at this investigation once we're done the investigation. So just like we did with the Tyrone West case and in the Anderson case, they're going to look at our investigation to include the arrest to see what, if anything, we should have done differently for improvement. But we're looking at this in our own eyes and criticizing our investigation as well.
Furthermore, Councilman, if I can add to that, I don't know if it has been made public. I know the FBI announced that they are opening up a civil rights.
Use the mic, Deputy.
I'm sorry. The FBI earlier today has announced that they have opened up a civil rights case as part of this investigation as well. And then the commissioner, upon completion of our internal investigation, has requested that we do an independent review board.
Also, in addition to that, I've personally spoke to DOJ and briefed them on this incident as we are today.
so there's two separate investigations that will occur after the BPD investigation is finished. One is with the FBI and DOJ, and then the second one is an independent team.
Correct.
And who's the independent team named by?
We're putting that together now. We're trying to get the best of the best to look at this case.
Okay, so that would be a team that is named by the commissioner and includes folks that are outside of BPD,
Correct.
like from local jurisdictions?
It could be from multiple, I'm sorry. It could be from multiple disciplines. So it's not just law enforcement. It could be from the health side of investigations, potentially pathologists, whatever's needed, that we cover all the disciplines as this investigation evolves, is what will be brought forward, and that's at the discretion of the commissioner.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Deputy, just really quickly, so this is relevant to this case. In November, it was reported that we were switching our wagons due to safety and efficiency issues. Have we begun that process? What were the safety issues that we were having with our current wagons? And also, have we considered placing cameras in the rear of our wagons?
Sir, I didn't hear the last part.
Have we considered placing cameras in the rear of our wagons so that we can know what actually happens on board?
Yes. To answer the short answer, yes. We are looking at cameras that actually record in the wagons, and at other features based off of best practices for wagons. I will tell you that, Training Academy, and I can defer to Director Bannock, who is here as well, if need be, but our Training Academy has implemented training for all transport officers, those responsible for transporting our prisoners, and that training will cover first aid, seating procedures, seat belting, things of that nature, and when to render medical assistance and so forth.
And can someone talk about the wagons themselves and why we thought that our old ones were unsafe?
Yeah, so with that issue, we inspected every wagon, made sure they had seatbelts in there. We also had our inspection unit go out to ensure that officers were being seatbelt in the prison. That was also done, and they passed. So we have all seatbelts in there, and that issue's been addressed.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Middleton, you have a question? Yes. And before she starts, we've been joined by Councilman Nick Mosby from the 7th District, member of the committee.
Before I ask my questions, I just first would like to send my condolences to the family of Freddie, and also to this city. And we're all waiting for the results of this particular case and following how it's being handled. And Baltimore now is on the map nationally, and it's time for God to be with all of us and keep us all safe and in prayer, and hopefully justice will be served. And so my question, I know that you kind of went through some of the description and you mentioned leg irons. Was his hands also tied?
In the rear.
Handcuffed, okay. And then also, as you're going through trying to improve things in the wagon, are there seat belts in the wagon, or is that one of the improvements you?
No, seatbelts are in the wagon. We inspected them and confirmed them. They're all in there.
And this person was also in a seat belt?
That person, this investigation, but we have great concern about it if he was not in the seatbelt.
Okay.
Ma'am, no disrespect, but again, we have to keep in mind as we answer this that these are ongoing investigations, and all the questions that you were asking are part of the process of that investigation. And I will say, the commissioner, myself, and the other deputies, policies regarding transports. We're amending policies, practices. So we have a lot of things going on behind the scenes outside of the investigation to implement the best practices we can.
Thank you.
Any other questions from my colleagues on this issue? Councilman Costello?
Can you say who it was that called for assistance?
You're talking about the station, or you?
Yeah, you mentioned that during the transport, there was an officer deployed to provide assistance.
Yeah, again, that's all part of the investigation. Interviews are being conducted. We don't want to put out any misinformation until we've concluded all the facts of that investigation. I will say that again, we stress the fact that we will go where the facts take us, and we will be diligent to make sure that those facts come to resolution.
I assume that that information will be available when the report is released next Friday?
Correct. That's what we anticipate, yes.
Thank you, Mr.
I
Chair.
just want to clarify, that report's being turned over to the state's attorney's office for the state's attorney to review and make a determination of whether or not what's going to happen with the case.
So that report won't be issued publicly at that time?
At that time, it's going to the state's attorney's office.
Thank you.
Thank you.